Hello everyone, we are back on Conquest of Azeroth after good 4 months waiting for core reworks, and here they are finally. So for Starcaller specifically, let's go over the spec changes, then talent changes, and general, rotation stuff and so on. So first, when you get to level 10, you get a choice of specs, just like you would in Cataclysm, right? Each spec is basically assigned kind of a mastery thing, a passive, that doesn't actually scale with your stats, but it works similarly, right? That's usually the first line of every spec choice of every class. Then you have your core ability that indicates like whatever your role is. This will likely get changed what is shown there because you can multiple of them. And obviously there's a short description. For Astral Warfare, it is categorized as a tank spec. However, it is still a tank and a melee DPS spec. The passive ability makes it that your crits with Celestial Strike generate 5% maximum mana, which is important because Celestial Strike no longer generates mana on its own. It is now completely tied to Aspect of the Cosmos. Aspect of the Cosmos becomes part of your rotation. And since all of the, let's say, more aspects, specifically Starlord and Cosmos for Astral Warfare, are now baseline, Starcaller, especially Astral Warfare Starcaller, has been turned into a stance dancing class or a spec. You rotate between at least 2 aspects based on your stats. Let's get back into the talents. So first we'll go into Astral Warfare. As you might have known before, Cosmic Presence used to be a Moonbow talent, and in its place used to be Aspect of Starlord, which obviously got moved to baseline, and now is replaced by Cosmic Presence because it made more sense. Cosmic Presence has also been reworked to be a partially defensive cooldown, which when you toggle, or cast it, it creates like the aura like usual that does AoE damage around you and reduces spell power based on your attack power. In addition, when you cancel it, it snaps and does a silence effect around you. Recasting obviously cancels it early. It still scales with standard spell power and its secondary effect with attack power. So it's like a hybrid spell. It's good for AoE threat, instant interrupts because you still don't have a baseline interrupt, and obviously some damage reduction. Moontab is the same, increases the duration of your Celestial Ages and increases its damage it blocks. I would generally recommend to have them Celestial Ages and Moontab on a cast sequence macro like this, right? Because it cannot be activated without Celestial Ages. You will be saving yourself keybinds. Next row, Blanket of Stars and Moonblade have not changed at all. Third row, there's been an addition of Celestial Knight, which used to be a capstone talent, which makes you be able to use Vengeance of Alone when you do damage or periodic damage. Vengeance of Alone is a baseline spell now, as you can see. And it scales with attack power intellect. You will not be using this spell much as a spell power setup, but you will obviously be using it as a tank or attack power setup. It does a substantial amount of AoE damage. Also, the threat of the spell will be changed to be completely tied to Aspect of Moonguard, which is right here. I have it hidden under under a macro. So that will be changed. It's been confirmed. Also, Moonwater Blessing apparently is not supposed to be here, but in Tides, and it's a mistake. Otherwise, there's no changes in this row. Next row also has not changed, but the priority of which you pick has changed because the Vengeance of Alone style is more supported now, so Celestial Armor might have less value and instead goes to Celestial Strike. Next row hasn't changed. This the hold as your interrupt is still there, but it's more viable to pick it this time around. And obviously, in the last row, aspect of what was it? Aspect of the Moon, I think, used to be here, but it is now in Moonbow because it basically created this degenerate playstyle where you were swapping into Aspect of the Moon for instant procs of Moonwell Splash, and then Tide Calling for another instant Moonwell Splash. And before doing that, you would also swap to like Aspect of Moonwell, which you used to have before, see? And you would just get like a lot of healing and you were kind of unkillable. It was really unreasonable and it's getting changed. So the strength of Starcaller right now overall lies in its defensive capabilities. All specs have more defensives than they used to. Specifically, Astral Armor, which used to be a talent in Moonbow, is now baseline. Cosmic Shift, which also used to be in Moonbow, which is Invis, can now also be casted on yourself, like so, and gives move speed. Currently, I'm pretty sure you can mount up in it, but that's going to get changed. Like it, yeah, because that's just broken. Hand of Alone, I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be a Moonbow only thing, but it was wrongly categorized. And for Tides, nothing changes. The previous build of picking up Tide Lash is no longer viable in current setting at level 50 because you have to fill your capstone talents to progress into another tree of talents, or assign amount of talents that would otherwise fill the capstone, right? So you don't actually have to like get, I don't know, one of these, but you just have to fill 21 points within your tree. The change to Astral Warfare rotation is basically that you have to keep swapping between aspects as you go. So it is actually quite keybind intensive and, you know, like muscle memory intensive. You also got Warden's Blade as baseline, which used to be in this row, I think. Yeah, in the 4th row. And you will be using all of the secondary applications of it, which is damage reduction for yourself, mana regeneration, healing cut, or healing... Wait, the healing cut is not supposed to be on Moon. It's Star-Lord now. So you will use all of them based on situation. In PvE, you will usually use just the damage one of Star-Lord or the mana regen. Usually the mana regen because of how pacing of your cooldowns works. So this is my PvP build, which focuses on Gather Reflexes and Starlight Duelist. So basically, it's a 1 minute cooldown, right? It makes you have 100% parry chance, which in turn makes you regen energy and, you know, like kind of reflect damage because you attack back instantly for 50%. You cycle this with Moonguard, which consumes mana to give you a shield. Then your Celestial Ages and Moontap and Astral Armor. So you have like 4 to 5 layers of defensives And with how Starcaller works, your Lunar Shock, which now also has cast time, its cooldown is reduced by consuming Scattered Stars, right? So it's beneficial for you to be in a longer fight. And the defensives now, you know, give you that ability. As you can see, Celestial Strike is no longer regening mana. So actively you have to go into Cosmos to regen, and then back to Stars or Star-Lord to dump, you know. If you need a fast regeneration, you can do Cosmos, Warden's Blade, which regens 30%, and then go back to whichever aspect you need. Currently I'm running a spell power setup, so I will always be using Stars. For a PvE rotation, I would not pick any of the defensive abilities, but pick Moonblade, Astral Blade, and then the last points are kind of dynamic. You can drop Moon Tap, obviously, for Moonsteel weapons. I don't even have Scroll Fortune. Give me a second. So the last point will either go into Sundering Blade if you're playing, you know, this style, or Starry Night, or if you're playing attack power style, you will not be picking up Moonstone, you will be taking Celestial Knight, and then you will be taking Cosmic Vengeance. And that basically turns your Vengeance of Alone into a DPS, you know, spell. So generally, the spell power variation uses kind of a complex rotation where you are tracking 2 debuffs, dancing 3 aspects, and watching your mana. So usually at the start you would want to Moonblade in Aspect of the Stars. Since that dumps all of your mana, you have to go immediately into Cosmos. And since Cosmos regenerates missing mana, you would first Celestial Strike a few times, and then Warden's Blade to fill your full mana bar. The intention is that you want to Astral Blade afterwards within the Moonblade Magic Shred. And since Astral Blade damage scales with your mana, the higher mana you have, the better. And also you want to have enough mana to be able to use 3 Star Sunders afterwards, which is a part of Astral Blade. All of this should be done by swapping into Stars before using Astral Blade. Again. Obviously, Lunar Shock has to be applied whenever you possibly can spare a GCD, because there's always a chance to get a Scattered Star, which by spamming Star Sunder reduces the cooldown of Lunar Shock. So that's similar as to how it used to be before. After that, you obviously have to go back into Cosmos, get more Celestial Strikes. If you have enough mana, then you go into Stars and Star Sunder. And before your Moonblade comes up, you want to go back into Cosmos, regen as much mana as possible, dump mana again, and so on. The space will be increased by having Warrior of Alone, which is a capstone talent, which we will have, you know, kind of like next phase, I guess, which has a potential to reset Astral Blade. So let's see it in action. You do Lunar Blade like this, then you swap back, you do 3, Warden, back to Stars, Astral Blade, Star Sunder, Star Sunder, Star Sunder, back to Cosmos, regen mana, back to Stars, dump again, use Lunar Shock, and so on. And by that time, Moonblade should be back up. You dump again. You Star Sunder if you have any Scattered Stars. You go back to the Cosmos, regen mana to full, go back to Stars, use Astral Blade, dump mana again, apply Lunar Shock before, then go back to Cosmos, get your mana back while stacking Scatter Stars, back to Stars, and so on. If I didn't focus on talking, you can pretty handily sustain 860 DPS or so. Yeah. The alternative version of playing with Sundering Blade and attack power is a bit more, how would I say this? Intensive on cooldowns, or like windows and GCDs, because you have to fit Vengeance of Alone also and keep up Sundering Blade. So you would drop Moonstone, yeah, pick up Celestial Knight. Since you would ideally be playing with a two-hander, you can dump Celestial Armor in PvE. In PvP, you pretty much never dump this for Cosmic Vengeance. For Sundering Blade, and then Moonsteel Weapons for Cosmic Vengeance or whatever. However you prefer to do it. The choice right now is between like Moonsteel Weapons and Mandate. I think Mandate is in this variation better, so we can drop Moonsteel Weapons and pick up Cosmic Vengeance, right? Your priority changes to Aspect of the Star-Lord. I think it's this. Boom. There we go. And we go into Strength. I'm not sure about the exact calculation of Strength versus Intellect currently, because some stuff is just not available, and War of Alone will impact that heavily, very heavily. If we still had Tidal Lash available, I would be going Intellect, but we don't. So, as you can see, the Lunar Shock dot enables Vengeance of Alone, which does AoE damage, which is a decent amount, right? I'm hitting these dummies because they're level 50, whereas the heroic dummy is level 60 something, I think. So the rotation is Lunar Shock, Moonblade, and then it's the mana regen part is the same, but you are swapping into Star-Lord instead of stars. Right, the damage is actually pretty decent. Just the upkeep of the Sundering Blades is quite difficult, in my opinion. And so on. So those are your two options of, kind of like playstyle. I will not be going into the tank, playstyle of Starcaller, because I just don't enjoy tanking, and I think somebody else can give you a better breakdown of how to optimize your gear mainly, because the rotation doesn't change much. You just give higher priority to Vengeance of Alone, and you play Aspect of the Moonguard without swapping into Cosmos usually, because it regenerates mana when you dodge, parry, or block and whatever. So that's it for Astral Warfare. The Moonbow has changed in a lesser amount than Astral Warfare in current setting, but has changed more at at max level. Hunter's Shot now has a cast time, which is quite major. So after a quick review, I found out that 3 of Moonbow's talents just do not work, and I cannot give you a proper showcase. So I'll be doing that in a separate video. So thanks for watching. I'm currently in a midterm period, which kind of limits my time I can give into COA. But afterwards, I will be doing some pure gameplay videos in PvP and PvE for Astral Warfare, since that's my favorite spec. If you have any questions about Starcaller or Conquest of Azeroth, like overall, you can find me under the, after the same name on the Conquest of Azeroth Discord, or on my Discord, on my own Discord, which is in the description. Sorry for stuttering. And I will try to answer the best of my ability. For Tides specifically, the Starcaller subchannel within Conquest of Azeroth Discord will give you all the help that you might need. Specifically Tyler, he plays that. So yeah, thanks for watching, and see you later.